Hello and welcome to another episode of Malone Bailey's official podcast, Everybody Counts. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Carolina Ocategi from the recruiting department at Malone Bailey. Hopefully this isn't your first time tuning in, but if it is, welcome. Our podcast, Everybody Counts, features various perspectives on a variety of topics, from the latest SEC and FASB updates to discussions on recruiting, retention, and more. Everybody Counts explores trends and hot topics that affect us and those in our business. Tune in to hear from partners and staff alike. The conversation is versatile and everybody's input counts. The focus of today's conversation is on a couple of the potential SEC regulatory changes with the new administration and the potential impacts it can have on auditors of public companies. Joining me today is Stephen Bertucci, Senior Partner and U.S. SEC Practice Leader. Welcome, Stephen.
Thanks for having me, Carolina.
Excited to have you here today, Stephen. Let's get right into it. As of the recording of this podcast, Paul Atkins, nominated by President Donald Trump to chair the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, has not publicly detailed his specific plans upon assuming the role. However, insights from his previous tenure as an SEC commissioner and his public statements provide a potential indication of his regulatory philosophy and potential priorities, like deregulation and business-friendly policies, the reevaluation of the PCAOB, and enforcement approach, just to name a few. But before we get into these, I would like to ask you about the formation of a new crypto task force that Acting Commissioner Mark T. Uyeda announced in January 2025. Stephen, can you tell us about the formation of the new crypto task force?
Sure thing. The SEC acting chairman announced the formation of a new crypto task force. This task force is dedicated to developing a comprehensive regulatory framework for crypto assets. The goal is to provide clear guidelines and realistic paths to registration for crypto entities, which is something they've all been looking for.
Now, how might this task force impact auditors of public companies?
Well, the formation of the crypto task force could lead to new audit requirements for companies involved in crypto assets. Auditors will need to stay updated on the evolving regulations and ensure that their audit procedures adequately address the risk and complexities associated with crypto assets. This could involve additional training and the adoption of new audit methodologies to effectively evaluate crypto-related transactions and disclosures. More to come once we see what the task force comes up with.
What specific challenges do you think auditors might face with these new requirements?
While I think the challenges may be many, one of the main challenges will be understanding the unique risk associated with crypto assets, such as valuation and security concerns. Auditors will also need to develop expertise in blockchain technology and stay informed about regulatory changes in the crypto space. Again, many of these challenges already exist. The task force may come up with additional matters for auditors to consider down the road.
Interesting. Can you share more about the three potential priorities mentioned at the beginning of the podcast that incoming Chairman Atkins might consider besides crypto?
Yes. So the first you mentioned would be deregulation and the business-friendly policies. Atkins has consistently advocated for reducing regulatory burdens on businesses. He's criticized what he perceives as overreach by regulatory agencies, suggesting a preference for a more lenient approach to oversight. This stance indicates that under his leadership, the SEC may roll back certain regulations implemented in the previous administration, all to foster a more business-friendly environment. The second one was the re-evaluation of the PCAOB. So Atkins has previously criticized the PCOB for what he considers excessive regulation and high operational cost. His leadership might prompt a reassessment of the PCOB's role, potentially leading to a reduction in its scope or even integrating its functions back into the SEC. Lastly, enforcement approach. Historically, Atkins had expressed skepticism towards imposing large corporate penalties, arguing that they often harm shareholders more than deter misconduct. This perspective suggests that the SEC under its chairmanship, may shift toward less punitive enforcement strategies, focusing instead on guidance and collaboration with market participants.
Thank you, Stephen. So to sum it up, potentially, what we can expect from Atkins at the SEC is that he may push for deregulation and a business-friendly environment, likely rolling back some stricter rules. Also, he may look to reevaluate the PCOB, possibly reducing its role or integrating it with the SEC. And lastly, potential shift in enforcement, less about big penalties, more about guidance and collaboration. It's going to be really interesting to see how these changes unfold. Thank you for joining us today, Stephen, and for sharing your insights on this topic. Remember, you can find this information on our website under resources. You can also find more information on sec.gov. We're going to switch gears now and play a little game we like to play on the podcast. It's called This or That. So I'm going to ask you a question and you choose which you prefer. Stephen, let's see, beach or mountains?
Mountains.
Disney World or Universal Studios?
This one's tough because I've been to both, but we'll go with Universal.
Pie or cake?
Brownie.
Brownie. I know, right? Brownies, they really are the best. Thanks again for the helpful information today. And I'm very appreciative of you taking time out of your busy schedule to chat with me, Stephen. I had a great time talking with you. And to everyone listening, we appreciate you listening in and invite you to check out our website, www.malonebailey.com, for more information about public company audit services, as well as some other useful resources. Thanks again for listening.